Bojo Rechondishnakas, Gno Onadodum, Boroi Wadme Endao, Hannibal and Donjbia, Minoaki and Da. Hello, my name is Rachel. I'm Eagle Clan. I'm Potawatomi. I'm from Hannibal, and I live in Milwaukee. If you took one of my workshops and you weren't able to finish sewing, this is a quick tutorial on how to sew. So hopefully you at least got your holes punched with the hole punch here. And then I would have given you a needle and some sinew. So some sinew, I just usually do about my wingspan. So from one hand to the other. For me, I'm about 5'9", if that helps anybody. But that's usually more than enough. I take my sinew, I thread my needle, and I pull that sinew so it's halfway on each side of the needle. So I'm doubling what I have here. But I am not putting a knot at the end. So for stitching, I'll start with this square one. Wherever my pen mark was, I'm going to have that be my inside. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this so any pen or pencil mark is on the inside. And hopefully my holes are pretty lined up here. I'm going to start at the top hole over here. I'm going to go through both layers. Just going to leave a little bit of a tail. And again, I don't have a knot in there. I'm going to go through those two holes again. Both layers. You're going to see a little loop forming here. Once this loop forms, I'm going to go through that, and that's where I'm going to create my knot. So right now that's my knot. And from here and all the way down, I'm going to do a whip stitch. So I'm going to go down through and go through both layers. It's going to go around the edge like that. I'm going to keep going down, going through both layers. And go all the way down to the bottom. And that whip stitch a lot of times looks like a little angled stitch going all the way down. And at my last hole, what I do is I go through that hole again just like I did on the top. And once that little loop starts to form, I go through, create a little knot on the bottom as well. And now I start going up, still doing the whip stitch, but this time we're going to basically it'll look like a crisscross. So go through each of those holes again. Like I said, this time we're creating a crisscross look. And once I get to the top, I do just like I did before. I go through that hole again. It's going to create that loop. But this time I'm going to go through it once, twice. And I'm going to trim that up real short. And if you have a lighter on hand, this would be a good time to go ahead and cinch that and tap it down a little bit. If not, that is okay. Sometimes we're in schools and in places where we're not really allowed to have lighters. So I'm just going to move forward with that one right now. But I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to go through that top hole, leave a little bit of a tail, go through that top hole again, go through that loop, create my knot, and then go down through each of these holes we punched earlier. Once I get to that last one, and go through it again, that loop happens, go through that, create that knot, and then go back up, and once again we're creating that crisscross look. Once I go through that top one, I'll go through it one more time and go through that loop twice. Make that knot nice and close. Trim that up. And now I'll put this lacing in. I'm actually going to cut a little angled snip at one end. I might even twist it a bit too to make it nice and pointy. I have these holes punched here, but I also have an awl handy to use if you're doing this in person to make these a little bit bigger and a little bit easier to go through with that lacing. So I'm going to go ahead and one of the middle two, go through that and bring this about halfway through. And then I'm going to start weaving around, going in and out. So now I'm going to go from the inside and pull this out. I'm going to go around this edge here. And pull that through, and sometimes the awl will help with this as well. You can either use it to push it through, or really what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to make that a little bit bigger again. I'm going to go through these again. Pull that. Just keep going in and out, but not around the edge, just in and out of each of those holes. And I twist that to make it a little bit pointier to help get through there. Yep. Cut on the end. Just gonna do this again. Go around this edge. And out this last one. And now you can go ahead and put some medicine in there. And you can close that up. We can tie the end of this together. You can wear that as a necklace. You can even out that string a little bit. And there you go. Open it back up. There you go. That's the square one. Now if you did the rounded one, you have two separate pieces. There's my pen, that will be the inside. This will also be the inside, so I'll put my two inside pieces together with the outside pieces both facing outside. Once again, we're going to need a needle and some sinew. The sinew, I do my wingspan. Cut that. Thread the needle. double it. So equal amount of sinew on each side of the needle. I do not knot the end. And much like the other one, we're going to start up in this corner. Going to go through both layers, come all the way through, leave a little bit of tail at the end, and go through that same hole. And it's going to create this loop, and this is where my knot, this is where I'm going to create my knot. So this one, create my knot. With this rounded one, we're going to do this whip stitch all the way around. And you'll see it creates this little angled stitch. Keep going all the way around the edge. Once we get to this last hole on the other side, I go through that one again, much like how I started it. I make that little knot. And now we're going to do the whip stitch going the opposite way, which is going to create this crisscross look. All right. Now we're at that one we started with. Go through that one more time so it creates that loop. I'm going to go through that loop 2 times and make that knot real close. Trim this up. Once again, if you have a lighter on hand, this would be a time to do your lighter and just kind of burn that down a little bit more. Now I'm going to take my awl. Going to go through these holes and make them a little bigger. Do my best to make them a little bigger so it's a little bit easier to get the lacing through. So I've got my lacing. And cut a bit of an angled snip. It's going to be like our needle. Also going to twist it to make it even pointier. Go through one of these 2 middle ones. Bring that so it's about halfway through. I'm going to start weaving this around. So we went from the outside to the inside of the pouch. Now we're going to go from the inside to the outside. Go around that edge. Go from the outside to the inside. Inside to the outside. Whoop, got my awl in there. Always catching my tools. And then pull that through there. You put some medicines in there. And you can close that up. And tie the end of these together. Wear this as a necklace if you wish. So those are the two options. Miigwech.